All right, so I hope that was helpful. I hope we're getting this. I hope that it was a strong message, but as well it's a strong encouragement. But you have to understand that somehow all of what you're doing now, whether you've been doing it for 5 minutes or 5 years or whatever, is still swimming upstream against years and years of being told that you didn't have to do anything. That all you had to do was choose Messiah and make your altar call, become a Christian, accept Messiah as your personal Messiah, whatever, and then it was done. And nobody really told you the truth that this was going to be a lifelong struggle against the flesh. And that's what you were choosing, a lifelong struggle against the flesh. Of course, the book tells you that. Paul says it like in every one of his letters, how we struggle against the flesh and what that battle is. So I do want to encourage you that you can do it. You can, but you're going to have to make an effort. And you're going to have to own and accept where you are, recognize that you're not as far along as you thought you were, and start where you are and keep moving. And don't feel like I'm moving too slow. Just move. Sometimes you move quicker, sometimes you move slower. Just keep moving. Going that little bit further forward and forward and forward. If you want to take a few steps back, repent, wipe yourself off, let it go, and keep moving. You step off to the side, repent, make teshuvah, get back on the path, keep moving. All right, who wants to go? This is the Afterburn. This is where we take up comments and questions in the body. If you're on live stream, Robert and Kurt are manning the desk there. If you're here locally, Nate is walking around with the mic. And we're going to begin with Dawid.
Yeah. One of the things that was kind of a rhetorical question that you said is, why should I care what others think if I'm doing what's right? But I want to avoid doing what's right in my own eyes. How do I positively for sure make sure I'm doing what's right so that I'm not just trampling over somebody else's feelings with what I'm doing wrong?
Okay, so this is again why this is supposed to be done in community. This is why you're supposed to have leadership. By leadership, I don't mean like somebody who's bossing. I mean, there are people that are elder to you. And in that eldership position, you can go and ask and say, I've been doing this, is that right? Okay, we even do that in our leadership meetings. You know, when we're having a leadership meeting on the 17th, and at that meeting, some of the leaders may come to that meeting and say these words. This is a situation that came up in my congregation, in my little group, and I didn't know what to do, so I came to you with that or they may say, this is what I did I do the right thing? So the same thing is available to you guys. You have leadership, you can come to and say, I'm struggling with this situation. I was thinking this is what I should do. Is that the right thing to do? Or I already did this, but now I'm thinking maybe it wasn't right. I just want to confirm. Can you help me? But that's where you then have to voluntarily, this is where this thing shows out not to be cultish. I have no say in anyone's life here who hasn't asked me to have a say. And even those who have asked me, almost never do I come up to them to have a say unless they ask me. I don't go up to them generally to ask them, how are you doing? Get a report, give me an update. You know, I may ask for an update on something that we've been praying about and that we're working on, but in general, they're walking out their life and I'm available. Okay? But the difference is that I'm available, and if they come to me, there's an expectation that I will give them the truth because I care and love them, and that they will receive that as coming from the Father through me. Not that I'm just saying, but that's what they trust, is that as a leader, that I will be submitted to the Father's guidance on how to guide them. That's what we hope our leaders will do. Okay? And so you shouldn't submit to a leader unless you believe that leader is making that effort to get out of the way and allow the Father to work. And if you've tested it and tasted of it, you should know. Did you get the sense that the Father's working through that person or not? That doesn't mean the person will still not be imperfect. The person still will be imperfect and flawed and make mistakes. Okay? Now, so good question. But it comes from, by the way, you have a built-in help because you got married. And Abba will use your wife to show you things you need to see. Now, she won't be perfect either. Another human being, right? But you can do that for each other if you're open to listening and not being defensive and prideful and all those kind of things. Now, if there's a confusion there, that's when you come to someone like me and say, this is what he said, this is what she said, which one of us is in the wrong way, or are we right, or whatever, and I can help you work through it, which I've done with you guys and I've done it with others, okay? So that's the answer. The answer is that there has to be a structure, a vehicle to work in that can help you with that answer. You can't do this yourself. How can you answer the question to yourself? Well, I think I was right, and I think I was right. No, I think I was right. Now let me go find out from somebody else if they think I was right. Okay? Yes, we can talk afterwards. Now, let me give one little piece of that additionally. What you don't want to do is go to other people, convinced that you're right, and wanting to convince them you're right so that you can say, oh, that person agreed with me. No, you beat them into agreeing with you. We see this happen a lot with doctrinal positions. Somebody comes into a congregation and they've got certain positions, whether it's calendar or whatever it is, and they're going to start talking to people because they will not feel good until other people agree with their position. So it's one thing to ask somebody openly, hey, this is what was going on, or this is what I did. I just wanted your opinion. It's different where that one's trying to give you their opinion and convince you that they're right so that you would agree with them, so they can now go to other people and say, well, other people agreed with me, so I must be right. So be careful of your approach, okay? This happens to guest speakers. When I've gone and guest spoke, and I don't do this often, when I've gone and guest spoken someplace and I did a speaking thing, people always come up to me to try to find out if I agree with their little position so they can tell their friends and everybody else, well, you know, the speaker agreed with me. And so I don't play the game when they come to me because I know what they're doing. And so I get a little bit careful about how I answer their questions because I don't want to play into that game. All right? First time that ever happened, I was guest speaking at a Sukkot. People wanted to, somebody from way across, we were eating dinner at a campsite, across from the fire, said from across the fire, so what do you think of the, whatever it is, the lunar calendar, this calendar, whatever, some calendar question. And I said from my side, I go, I think you're all wrong. Person kind of jumped out of their chair like ready to fight. Said, I'm not going to play the game. You're all wrong. You know why you're wrong? Because of that. Because all of you who make this issue such a big issue are unable to talk about it with the fruit of the Spirit. So therefore, you're wrong. Even if you're right, you're wrong. See, I didn't play the game. So be careful. When people come to you, listen to what they're saying and see if they're trying to play the game of trying to convince you they're right so that you can take their side, even if you didn't mean to, but they'll tell whoever they're having a little issue with, they'll tell their spouse or their friend or whatever that you took their side. Because that's a game we love to play as human beings. Well, you know, I did a survey of the congregation. They all agree with me. Okay, don't play the survey game with people. And if someone seems like they're doing a survey, don't take the survey. Okay? Because it's only going to be used against somebody as a weapon. Don't do that. Okay? But if you have a friend in the congregation, they genuinely come to you going, I just did this thing. I really don't know if I did the right thing here. I just wanted your opinion. That's different. But if they come trying to say, well, this person did this, and I did this, and I know I'm right, don't you agree? Don't you agree with me? Wasn't I right? That's a different conversation. If they come to you where you feel that they are open to being wrong, that's different than when they're coming to convince you that they were right and trying to find out if you agree with them because they're looking for backers to their position. Does that make sense? Are we clear? All right, next question. Okay, Amy?
Yes, it's really just a comment, but I really wanted to thank you, Rabbi, that you take the time to expound on the different verses and give practical applications and everything. I find it very helpful for myself and just while I'm at work or just having to make a decision, and it'll come to my mind things that you've said and told us how to walk and how we should behave and how we should think and act and what to do. So I really just wanted to say thank you, and I find it extremely encouraging. And when you were just saying a few minutes ago that the Father wouldn't have picked us if he didn't think we could do it. I mean, you say that enough too, and I say to myself, okay, I know if I made a mistake, I say just get up and keep going. He knows I can do it. So at some point, I'll keep improving and I'll get better, and hopefully people won't give up on me in the meantime. But I just really wanted to thank you, because
I
I
appreciate
appreciate
that.
you so much. And I just wanted to
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Look, I mean, I feel bad that anybody ever feels, attacked or browbeaten or whatever, but this is life and death. Do you understand that? And if you're up here speaking, you should know that you're dealing with potentially leading people in a way that will lead to death or life, and you have to take that very seriously. Dawn?
Rabbi, I had a quick question. You were talking about that submission counters are the frustration and disappointment that would lead us off the path. But you mentioned something, that there was a difference between to submit and to obey. Could you expound on the difference?
It's the attitude and heart of it. Okay? All right? If I tell you to do something and you obey me and you really didn't want to do it, you can obey me muttering under your breath with a lousy attitude, but you still do it. All right? But if I tell you to do something because of our relationship and you are submitted to me, even if you don't agree with it, you'll do it with the right attitude, trusting that even if you can't see it, there's a reason for it. It's the attitude, it's the heart, it's the approach. Obedience is part of submission, but submission is a different relational position than just obedience. Hold on, go back. Let your husband hand you the mic.
I'm sorry. So in marriage, when we take, I think it says obey in the marriage vows. So does it, if I'm getting it correct, so you start out just kind of doing it in obedience, and then the relationship is built, and then you do it, it becomes a submission?
Well, in the wedding vows, depending on the standard vows you do, there's usually also the word submit, and to submit myself to you. So the obedience is in the context of submission. Okay? That's in most vows. Now again, I'm not familiar with all the mainstream vows and everything else. I know the vows that we did, which were sort of the standard vows when we got married, had that in there. Okay? It had my wife had the words in there, and to submit myself to you. Okay? So if there was obey in there at the beginning, it's in the context of submit, which is an attitude, it's an approach, it's a mindset, it's a heart, it's a relationship.
Okay.
Where even though I can't see it and I don't agree with it, I trust it. Okay? Obedience, you could do that with the worst attitude ever, you're still going to do it. Have you ever told your kids to do something they didn't want to do, and they went, but they did it though, right? They did what you said, but their attitude was just, don't make that face. Okay? Their attitude, I'm pointing at your daughter, that's okay. All right? But their attitude was all wrong. That's not submission.
Okay.
Okay, submission is I don't agree with you. I can't see what you're talking about. It doesn't make sense to me, but I trust you anyway because I trust that either you're going to be right, or if you're wrong, it's still going to work out because you'll make the adjustment and fix it if it's wrong. So I'm just going to trust you. So submission is a completely different approach and attitude and mindset.
I appreciate you explaining that and helping me walk out this new way of viewing submission, because I honestly thought that submit was, I submit this thought to you, Nate. And
no,
that didn't work out so well.
No,
so.
Submitting information to him is not, no. Although he should desire you to submit information to him. Absolutely. But then once he makes a decision about it, you must submit yourself authority-wise to his decision. Okay? But that's, again, submission is not like, see, a lot of the Christians and other people you've run into over the years who will throw submission in your face, what they want is dictatorial obedience. They're not understanding submission. When I want my wife to submit, I want her to trust that what I'm doing and what I want her to do or what I want her not to do, there's a reason for it. And even though she can't see it at that moment, and this doesn't happen very often, but trust me is what I'm wanting. I'm not wanting obedience, I'm wanting trust. Okay? It's a different relationship. But the reason that women have a problem with submission is because almost all the guys that have thrown it in their face want obedience, not submission. Because they're seeing it as obedience. I said to do it, you need to do it. No. I said to do it, I need you to trust me that doing it is the right thing. Or I told you not to do that. I need you to trust me that this is the right way to go, not to do that, but to do something different. Okay? And so we have a lot of men that don't understand submission either because they think it's dictatorial obedience that they're asking their wives to do. The father's not asking for dictatorial obedience. He's asking for submissive obedience. For you to choose to trust him even if you can't see it and you don't agree with it. And so ladies, you actually have, and men too, have an opportunity to experience part of that relationship. Men, you get to be Yahweh and Yeshua alike in that you get to be the one asking for submission and knowing what that feels like. So also when you don't get it, understand that's how it feels like when you don't give it to him also. So sometimes your wife may not do it because he wants you, he may have inspired your wife to do that to you so you know what it feels like. So if your wife is struggling in certain areas, you may ask the question, I wonder if this is what I'm doing to him because my wife is my mirror. That not always, but that can be a part of it. Maybe he's inspiring her to do those things to you because you're doing it to him. Not always. So ladies, don't use that as a weapon now. Well, you know, the thing is, I'm only doing that to you because you're doing it to him. Don't you do that. I said sometimes that may be the case. All right? But let's understand that this is, again, the relearning, the resetting of something that's been available to us that we've known about for centuries, but has been done so wrong for so long that it's been Christianese. It's become Christianese. In other words, submission now means obedience. No, submission is a form of obedience that's more about trust and a relationship, a loving relationship, than it is about obedience. Okay? Which is why you don't ask for submission unless it's important. Meaning it's going to hurt the person or the family or something if the person doesn't listen. It's important that something is done this way or not done that way. Okay? And that's why you don't put somebody in that position to need to submit like every day all the time. It should only come up occasionally. That's why I told you, and you can ask my wife, she gets yes, 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 yes all the time. And that few times when I have to say, no, we shouldn't do that, that's the one time or few times that I expect submission. Okay? Where I say, no, I think we're not going to do that, we're going to do it this way instead. It doesn't mean because I'm right. It's because in my mind, it's important that we do this thing a different way. And I also take on the responsibility that if I'm wrong, I own that. Guys, if you ask your wife to submit and you're wrong, you need to own that. Mm-hmm. You need to be prepared to fix it, set it straight, and make it right because you insisted on your position. And if she submitted to it, own it, and you better follow through. Ladies, don't expect him to make decisions always perfectly. What you expect him to do is if he messes up, that he fixes it, that he owns it. That's all. So guys, don't blame this and that and the other thing. Own it. It was your idea. It was your choice. You asked for submission. Own it. Okay? Who's next? Trisha?
Thank you, Rabbi. First of all, I just want to I've been under you for almost 6 years now, and you, like many of the other teachers, repeat yourself over and over, and it takes many, many hearings to be able to get the understanding that Abba is trying to put through sometimes in our brains. And this week in particular was a big one because with what Rabbi Berkson is teaching with MTY and the 6 things that Yahweh hates, and the comments that she brought up this week in correlation with what you are teaching today really helped me put to understanding the heart and the mind and what it means when it says to guard my commands and to live and get understanding. When you put the crown around your head, the thoughts that go into our head is what comes out of our heart, which comes out of our mouth. So the changing is really what we think. So what's in our heart is really what's in our mind. And by guarding his commands and by living righteously and allowing him to transform, our thoughts do change. And it's guarding that with a crown of life so that our heart and our mouth can have the abundance of who he is. And we can speak forth the loving kindness. And we can stop the actions of our flesh that we want to be selfish or angry. But it's walking in his ways and allowing him to change our thoughts, to guard that. Amen. Because it is with our thoughts. And I just appreciate you continually pounding this into us because, it does make a difference and eventually it does click.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate that. Look, we talked about this all throughout the What Are You Thinking teaching and places like that, where it's about the thought, enters the heart, and then it gets emotions attached to it. Then it produces an action. A lot of times it's something that comes out of our mouth. And out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. But it starts with a thought. So very well put. Appreciate that. Who's next? Okay, Christine.
So I had my thoughts all organized several different times. And so if I could be vulnerable for a moment, a couple of Shabbats ago, I sat in one of these chairs and thought to myself, I think I'm doing good. I think I'm doing okay. And then the first day of the week happened, and and every emotional issue within me, way down deep in there somewhere, just erupted. And luckily I was home by myself, because I probably would have burnt a lot of bridges, and David was at work. And so the only one who witnessed everything I said and everything I did was our King in heaven and my poor puppy. He didn't want to play that day. And it was awful. It was awful. I was in such an awful spot, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and that was a good thing. And it was just like anger and bitterness and all this stuff that had been there but not really thought about, and it just came. And thankfully, when my husband got home, my poor husband, he was able to give me the logical perspective that I really needed. And but it really, for me, it was like a whole 36-hour ordeal. But the rest of that week, man, did I feel salty every time I thought about the Father or wanted to talk to him. And I just, so many times, just had to just bow spiritually, emotionally, and physically, and just ask for that repentance, and really just realized where I am and how far I need to go. And so I just wanted to share that.
Amen.
Praise the Father.
Amen. Look, remember, go back to the baptism of fire thing, where Abba's going to allow things to get stirred up as pop quizzes. Oh, you thought you've arrived? Okay, let's see how you handle all this. Okay? And all this stuff comes pouring out. You go, okay, maybe I'm not as far along as I thought I was. Okay? And so remember, the Deuteronomy 8:2 starts off with the humbling part. You know, I didn't mention that. I don't always mention that because the point I'm usually trying to make is that it's not about being perfect, about, making the effort. But it starts out with humbling. And so he knew you had that slightly prideful moment of thinking, I'm doing pretty good. And he just said, I'm glad you feel that way, but let's just see how good you really are doing. Not that it was a raging egotistical moment, but just one of those moments where you were feeling pretty good. And so, that's also Hasatan bringing stuff out that needs to be dealt with, because he doesn't like that you felt good. But remember, that stuff still was in you. It was your stuff that he brought out, and you had to then learn how to deal with it. And, by the way, I really appreciate one thing, and hopefully you can all allow me this space, because believe it or not, even though I am the rabbi and the person up in front of the microphone, I am also a human being just as screwed up as the rest of you, which means that at times I'm also salty. A term that I never used as a kid, but apparently that's like the millennial thing. Everybody uses the term salty, okay? We had other words for it that weren't as nice as salty, but I'll go with salty, okay? But I can be that way, and if you run into me when I'm already that way, I can come across as rude and obnoxious and whatever, because I'm, and I've actually said it to you. I think I said that at the general session last time. I said to everybody I was a little bit snippy and in a bad mood. And it happens because you just because life is happening doesn't mean that whatever you're feeling stops just because you show up somewhere, And so allow us all that space, including me, that there will be times where you may catch me in a moment. And also, if somebody's rude or obnoxious or this or that, you know what? You don't know what was going on in their life and why they were there, okay? Somebody cuts you off in traffic. You don't know that they just got a call of an emergency and they're hurrying up someplace. Or they could just be being rude, but you don't know, okay? I mean, I may have been rude to you showing up one morning at services, but you didn't notice that it was like 5 minutes to services and I'm late and I'm running through here hurrying up because I'm late. because something happened and whatever, and it was out of my control, and I'm here hurrying up to do 16 things that I should have had an hour to do, and I'm only got 10 minutes. That doesn't excuse the behavior. What I'm saying is you should be asking yourself, I wonder if there's a reason for what I just experienced. Because often that happens when I show up here, is that some of you may want to come up and it's like, hey, Rabbi, Shabbat Shalom, and I'm just like not even paying any attention to you because I got here, I got to get to the praise team, I got to get to the soundboard, I got to do 16 other things, and I'm just not skilled in my character and in my personality to deal with that at the same time as my focus. I'm working on it. I'm not using that as an excuse not to work on it. I'm just saying but be aware that everybody has stuff like that. Some of you don't go near you till you have your cup of coffee in the morning. Okay? And they're smart if they do that. Right, I know. I've heard stories of people opening up a bedroom door, coffee cup first. Close the door and give them another 20 minutes before even thinking to say hello. Okay? But some of you are that way at night, where you're great in the morning. You wake up, Susie Sunshine, and you're all, wah! Okay? But after you get tired and it's night, you get into the crankies. We all have our stuff. Okay? I tend to get into the whatever when I'm laser focused because a task needs to get done. I'm late and behind. It's got to get done quickly, and I don't want anybody in my way when I'm doing that. So note to anybody that comes to visit here, I'm wonderful to talk to after services. I will sit down with lunch with you. I'll give you all the time you need. Probably just stay out of the way till we get started. Because I have stuff that I'm responsible to do. And I can't do social and task at the same time. Okay? See, but most of you guys are showing up, you don't have a task to do. You're just waiting for services to start. But some of the people here, though, not just me, have tasks to do, getting ready for the service. Please respect that. And also by respect, I mean allow for less than warm, fuzzy friendlies from them if they're busy with tasks. Because it could be we're having a challenge with the internet. It could be that the cameras are having a problem. It could be the sound system. It could be just people got here late and we haven't had time to rehearse something. Whatever it is, allow for that. That's us accepting that everybody has got their own stuff. Okay? Because, can we get the wrong impression about people? And don't you tell me nobody's ever gotten, that you've never had anybody get the wrong impression about you. Because you have, I'm sure. Well, I don't know why they're mad at me. I didn't do it. Well, because you came across a certain way at that moment because of where you were and where they were. And so it got interpreted a certain way. Because I know I do that to people every week. Because every week when I walk in that door, all of a sudden everybody's expecting, hey, Shabbat Shalom. And I'm like, I'm late. I got to get here. I got to do that. Whatever it is. I'm always late. That's weird. Okay. I'll have to work on that. Okay, but you should know it when you look at the clock. And if I'm here and it's almost 1, I'm late. Okay. There's so much I need to do to get ready to start. And so allow for that space. You want the hugs and the hellos and everything? I'm happy to do all of that after we say, Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. Okay, good. Then I'll be ready for you. All right? Let's understand. Everybody's got those kind of things going on. And we can interpret them in a way that's not proper. Where's the mic? Who wants to go next?
All right, so this is from somebody here that is wanting me to ask the question. I want to encourage that person. Be brave. Be brave. All right, so I heard you say that the enemy doesn't give us a thought, but only encourages our thinking. Then what are the fiery darts?
The fiery darts of the enemy, that kind of thing. I'd have to go back and get that verse in complete context, all right? But, the fiery... Bring it back to the baptism fire. It's all about testing you with the stuff that you already have in you, okay? And I can prove this, and I sort of proved it in the way I explained it during the teaching. There is absolutely stuff that you see other people struggle with that has never been a problem for you. Do you ever wonder why? It's because it's not in you to work on. So there's nothing for Satan to push a button or whatever because it's not in there. Then there's stuff that you struggle with, and you wonder, why don't anybody else struggle with this? Only I struggle with it. Because that's the stuff that's in you. So I'd have to go to the fiery darts verse, though. to look at that. So whoever it is, be brave and come up and ask me and bring me the verse. Bring me the address of that verse, and then I'll take. What is it? Okay, so Ephesians 6, so it's talking about the armor of Yahweh, okay? The fiery darts have to do with the shield to protect you from the fiery darts, the shield of belief, which you have the power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one, okay? So we're talking about belief. So what is the wicked one's main goal in life? To get you not to believe. So he's going to pick on every little thing and shoot little darts and little pokes in your personality and your issues to get to your weak spots where your belief is weak. You see? So he's not putting thoughts. But if your belief is strong, guess what? There's nothing there to work with. So if you have the shield of belief, the darts can't get through. This goes back to the whole story with Job. You know, Yahweh says, what do you think of Job? And what does Hasatan say? I got nothing I can do with him. He doesn't have anything in there to work with. Now, of course, Satan says, that's because you give him everything. And Yahweh says, no, it's just because there really isn't anything to work with. He's a tzaddik. He's a righteous one. He said, I'll prove it. Take away everything and you'll see. And he proved it. But that's the whole thing, is there was nothing to work with. Now, Mrs. Job had plenty to work with. That was a problem, okay? But it exposed that. But that was in her. That wasn't something Hasatan put in her. He did the same to her as him. He passed the test, she failed. Why? Because it's something that was different in her than was in him. That's all. Okay, next question. Anybody? This one's from you, Nate? Okay.
So you were saying that sometimes it's hard to, because you have to repeat yourself just like Paul does. He repeats frequently. One of the things that came to mind was the simple things while I was in the military. One of the things we heard often was to be on time and be in the correct uniform. And that, I mean, that's a no-brainer, but it was a constant reminder.
Are you trying to pick on the fact that I'm late all the time?
No, I didn't even think of that. But
I am in the right uniform. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But it was something that was constantly brought to remembrance, just because for some reason or another, people either showed up late or weren't wearing the correct uniform or didn't. I got in trouble a few times for not being shaved appropriately, even though I shaved the night before, it just wasn't shaved enough or whatever. So I thank you for those reminders.
Oh, wait, hold on, let me interrupt. How many of you have children and have had to tell your children only once to remember to turn off their light in their room? Or only once to pick up their stuff off the floor? Or only once to, see, right? You have to hit them with it over and over. And that's just the way we are. Okay? We don't get things hearing it once or 100 times or more. Okay? Go ahead.
Also things that I needed, I was a latchkey child, and that's somebody who was raised by just one parent, my mom, and she worked 3 jobs most of the time. So I didn't get all that discipline. You know, I could pretty much do what I wanted. And I was very thankful for that. I knew that I needed to have some form of discipline, otherwise I was going to end up living in an attic, doing all the other things that all my friends were doing. And that's part of the reason why I joined the military. And I was very thankful for that, because it helped instill some of that discipline. And I was thinking about when you're on a mission in the military, the point man, that's a guy in the front, is the guy who kind of helps keep us on the map to reach the objective. And I kind of vision you, Rabbi, as the point man, and the leader or the squad leader. Our father is a squad leader, kind of giving you the point man directives to say, hey, this is the way we need to go. I need you guys to stay in line so we can get to the objective, not only get there, but be there safely and ready to do what we need to do when we get there. Does that correlate, I think, with what you were teaching today?
It does. It does correlate. I appreciate that. Okay? Because again, you got to remember that while the Father and the Son are clearly in charge in all things, they are not physically here to lead and guide. They have to work through agents to people. And we see that in Scripture all the time. There's always somebody they're working through. And I'm not saying I'm the unique person he's working, I'm saying, but I'm one of the ones, hopefully that you, if you see that or not, whatever, that he's working through me. Otherwise, why would you be here, right? And so that's the only way they're going to be able to function is through the physical agents here.
Amen.
And so you have to find one. That's why I tell you guys with Ephesians 4, where he talks about the fivefold ministry, that you need to go find those guys. And if you think I'm one, great. If you don't, go find one. You know. All right. Anybody else?
I got
more?
Got more.
You got a whole notebook in front of you.
It was a good teaching. So I was thinking about when you're talking about when my wife brought up the subject about submission versus obey. For us men, sometimes it's very difficult to go to a place of submission, especially as we're always taught when we're younger that we need to grow up, be men, and rule the roost. This coming to Torah observance helped me to, especially when I started learning more about leadership when I was so against it. This is a grand opportunity for us men to set the example for our wives to be able to submit to an authority, so that not only that submission for me to my rabbi, but my wife to submit to me, but also for my children to learn to submit to us as leadership, and then changing from there. So I just wanted to encourage the men, and then I have one more thing.
Okay, wait, let me just as a quick reset for those that don't know you. When I met him, the one thing he did not want any part of was a structure or authority. And he made it very clear. He said the words to me, I think something that, whatever it is you're selling, I'm not buying. Don't even waste your time. Okay? So just so you know, this is what Abba has done with him since that day. And so this is not just a guy who's like, you think, oh, well, he's just always been this way. No, when I met him, he had already been burned, neglected, abused, and everything else by every type of leadership. There was no interest whatsoever in him or his wife to come under anything. This is all the work of Abba. Okay, that's important that you know that. And so if you are feeling that same way, and you want to know how do you end up going from that to where he is now, talk to him. And he can tell you his journey. All right, go ahead.
And the last thing, the Are You Saved teaching was not depressing to me. It was very encouraging because I knew even where I was in Christianity, there was something that just wasn't right, and I needed to be doing something. And the teaching actually continued to empower me to do what is right according to Yahweh, and help me to get from where I was on a continued journey. So it made perfect sense to me when you go through the whole thing. I actually had friends that had trouble with that teaching, but they only listened like the first 5 minutes of it and then didn't listen to the whole thing.
Right.
So I really appreciated that teaching. It actually encouraged and empowered me.
I appreciate that because, again, it's the people that are locked into eternal security. I think that's the word I was looking for, is that this idea that I'm guaranteed I have this security for the forever, so it doesn't matter what I do, I get in, I remember asking a senior Baptist pastor one time, I said, what happens when a person, they're sinning or whatever? They said, well, we call it who's a believer. He said, well, we call them a backslider. I said, fine, okay. So if a backslider dies while he's still backsliding, does he get in? And he said, of course he does. And I sat there and looked at him like, what's the point? I mean, what's the point of all this? If it's obviously the behavior didn't matter at all. Oh, but he made his altar call and he was saved. And then he went off and just did whatever he wanted, and then it's okay. See, and that's the mindset that they have. But they want to know that they have that security. And by the way, this teacher who didn't like when I said about that, also works when his boss calls him in on Saturday, and he needs to know that he's still in. He needs that security because he needs to know that it doesn't matter that he breaks the Sabbath. He needs to know that it doesn't matter that he does different things. Well, the reality is that that's just not true. It doesn't work that way. And so, that's why he found it depressing. He was depressed to find out it doesn't work that way. So he wasn't happy about that. All right, Robert.
All right, from Janet Hoffman, verse 10 of chapter 4, years of your life be many. Is this talking about eternal life, or is it also this present life?
Okay, we're back in Proverbs?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me get back there. I was over in Ephesians. Okay, verse 4. What was the question now? Let your heart hold
verse
fast
10.
by verse what?
10.
Okay.
Years of your life being many is talking about the eternal life or also this life?
Probably both. And look, it doesn't really say it in this verse, but most of us are existing. We're not living. So I would say that if you do all these things, the years of your living, your years of your life would be many. A lot of us are not living. We're existing. He wants us to live now and forever. Okay, next question. That's it. Okay, Nate, grab the mic. All right, let's go ahead and get the children. Shabbat Shalom! Shabbat! We love you! Hey, yeah,